I've knocked on a lot of doors here, not in this particular neighborhood, but in the neighboring ones. And I have these memories of 29-year-olds opening these doors, saying, oh, we just moved in. We're having a couple of kids. We have a couple of kids. We got a dog. And this is our home. And that was normal, to have someone who was 28, 29, 30, moving into nice neighborhoods like this. That was because Canada had made a very simple promise. It wasn't anything revolutionary. It was just a very simple contract we had with the country. You work hard, you get a great paycheck, buys good food, and a nice home in a safe neighborhood. Very straightforward. And that's why millions of people came from around the world for that bargain. But after 9 years of Trudeau, that promise, like everything else, is broken. Housing costs have literally doubled. The average mortgage payment has gone from $1,400 to $3,200. The needed down payment for the average home has gone from $22,000 to $46,000. The average rent on a one-bedroom has gone from a measly $973 to now $2,200, roughly, after 9 years of Trudeau. It used to take 39% of the average family's income to make the average payment on the average home every month, back in 2015. Now it takes 60%. In Toronto today, it takes over 70% of your pre-tax income to make payments on the average home. In Vancouver, it's 98% of pre-tax income, meaning if you're in Vancouver today with the average income and you wanted to buy the average home, you'd have to stop paying taxes, stop eating, stop buying clothing, stop driving, stop vacationing, stop all forms of recreation, and it would still take 98% of all the money you had to make that monthly payment. Of course, that is mathematically impossible. No wonder there are 1,400 homeless encampments now in Ontario after 9 years of Trudeau and the NDP Liberals. 25% of Canadians live in poverty. 1/4 of kids go to school hungry every single day, according to the government's own data. Housing costs in Canada have risen 40% faster than incomes, the worst gap of any G7 country. In fact, Vancouver is now the third most expensive, Toronto the 10th in the world when you compare median income to median house prices, and homes in the United States are between 25 and 45% cheaper than they are on the Canadian side of the border, proving this is not a global problem, it is made in Canada. Now, obviously, government gatekeepers that block home building are largely to blame for the fact that we have the fewest homes per capita in the G7, even though we have the most land to build on. But there's also the taxes. In Ontario today, 1/3 of the cost of every new home is direct taxes. That does not include the indirect taxes, for example, income tax on construction workers and businesses, or all the paperwork and delays and consultants you have to pay just to get the building permits. I'm talking about direct taxes. So let's get this clear. When you buy a new home today, more of the money you spend goes to bureaucrats than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who actually build the house. This is insane. The #1 cost for a home is government. Government bureaucrats, government taxes, government gatekeepers. 30%, as I said, is taxes, and 39% of all the taxes in a new home are federal taxes, including the GST. The GST, which adds $50,000 to the cost of $1 million home. It's a 5% federal tax. It was supposed to be indexed. You used to have a rebate on the first 450 grand of a new home back when the GST was instituted 3 decades ago. That threshold was supposed to go up every year, but it didn't. And now, good luck trying to get a house for 450 grand. You can't find anything for that after 9 years of Trudeau. So everybody basically is paying GST on their new home. The GST was not meant to apply to the basic necessities of food and housing. That's why the exemption existed in the first place. It is also why today I am announcing that a Pierre Poilievre-led common sense conservative government will axe the sales tax on new homes under $1 million. This will save about $40,000 on a new home of $800,000. That would mean a savings every year of $2,200 in mortgage payments. Getting rid of the GST on new home builds will stimulate 30,000 additional homes built every single year, which incidentally will actually generate more income tax revenue for the government without raising rates. That will help cover the cost of the tax cut. But we will also cut bureaucracy. We're going to cut the programs that Liberals themselves admit haven't built any homes. The Accelerator Fund. Sean Fraser goes to the committee and says that the program doesn't build houses. And he's right. Since they gave $500 million to Toronto, home building's down by 20%. And development taxes are up by 40%. Money given to Vancouver has led to less construction and higher taxes. To Winnipeg, they gave Winnipeg money, and the Winnipeg City Hall blocked 2,000 homes next to a transit station built for those homes. Construction is down there as well. So while Trudeau and the NDP Liberals build bureaucracy, I want to build homes. Common sense conservatives will stop giving the money to bureaucrats, instead leave it in the pockets of home builders and home buyers. This is all part of our common sense plan to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. The purpose, as in everything we do, is to restore Canada's promise, to bring home a country where hard work earns a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food and homes in safe neighborhoods like this one. Let's bring it home.
Thank you. We'll now take questions from the floor.
Mr. Poilievre, Michael Couture from CTV News. I wanted to know if you can confirm, first of all, that your plan that you're proposing today will save $8 billion annually. Also, can you list the programs that you'll be cutting to get to this number? And please, en anglais et en français.
So it will save $8 billion over, we're going to cut two programs for sure and more beyond that. One, the Accelerator Fund, has $3 billion left in it. It has been a disastrous program that has led to less home building and more local bureaucracies. $3 billion will be saved from that. And then the Housing Infrastructure Fund that hasn't built any infrastructure or any housing and hasn't even instituted any announcements. They're not even accepting applications yet. 6 months after it was announced, what they're doing with the money is building up a big fat bureaucracy in Ottawa. That will be gone. So that's a total of $8 billion over several years. Then we expect that we will collect about $2 billion more as a result of the 30,000 additional homes that will be built year after year because of this highly stimulative tax cut. It's going to spark more home building, which means more workers and businesses will be making money building homes. And therefore, at the existing rates, they'll be paying more into the system. So this includes about $16 billion in additional revenue and lower costs to the taxpayer, which is about the cost of axing the sales tax on home building over the next 4 years. Thank you. Merci de la question. Il y a premièrement, nous allons éliminer la bureaucratie et les programmes que les libéraux ont eux-mêmes avoués n'ont bâti aucun logement. 0 logement bâti avec ces programmes-là. On va éliminer 8 milliards de dollars. il y a le fonds d'accélérateur, un fonds qui, selon les propres propos de Sean Fraser, le ministre du Logement, n'a bâti aucun logement. Il y a aussi le fonds de l'infrastructure pour le logement, que le gouvernement avoue n'a bâti aucun logement, ni aucune infrastructure. Ça, c'est 5 milliards de dollars. Et 6 mois après l'annonce de ce programme, les libéraux n'acceptent même pas des applications pour donner les fonds. Évidemment, il n'y a pas d'urgence, il n'y a pas de résultat. On n'a pas besoin des programmes bureaucratiques à Ottawa, on a besoin des maisons dans les communautés. En plus, nous allons récolter un autre 2 milliards de dollars par année à cause des 30 000 logements supplémentaires qui vont être construits à cause de cette élimination de la TPS sur la construction. En stimulant plus de construction, les travailleurs et les entreprises de construction auront plus de revenus et le gouvernement va récolter son juste part. Donc, on va récolter 8 milliards de dollars de plus de revenus en 4 ans. On va éliminer 8 milliards de dollars de dépenses. Ça, c'est 16 milliards de dollars pour le budget. Et l'élimination de cette taxe, ça va coûter 16 milliards de dollars pendant 4 ans. Donc, c'est un plan responsable pour couper taxes et impôts, bâtir des logements et donner la promesse au Canada que le travail engendre un grand chèque de paie qui achète de nourriture et de logements abordables dans les communautés sécuritaires.
Thank you. Next question.
Bonjour, M. Poilievre, Christian Noël de Radio-Canada. Ceux qui construisent des maisons vont économiser sur la TPS pour les coûts les coûts des matériaux et le coût de la main-d'œuvre. Qu'est-ce qui vous garantit que les entrepreneurs immobiliers vont refiler cette économie-là aux acheteurs et ne vont pas garder le prix des maisons élevé? En anglais et en français, merci.
La seule façon de garantir que les constructeurs de maisons passent les économies aux Canadiens, c'est la compétition. Plus de logements force les entreprises de réduire des prix ou bien ils vont perdre les ventes aux autres entreprises. Maintenant, on sait, je vous donne l'exemple. Aux États-Unis, ça coûte entre 25 et 45 moins cher pour un logement. Est-ce que vous pensez que les entreprises américaines sont plus généreuses? Vous pensez? Non, ils ne sont pas plus généreuses. Aux États-Unis, ils veulent gagner de l'argent, ces entreprises-là. Ça coûte moins cher parce qu'il y a moins de coûts gouvernementaux. Aux États-Unis, les permis sont automatiques et très rapides et les taxes sont beaucoup plus bas. C'est pour ça que les gens aux États-Unis peuvent acheter des logements. En réduisant les taxes et les impôts, on peut inciter plus d'approvisionnement de logements, plus d'offres et moins de taxes, ça veut dire des maisons plus abordables. Yeah, look, the only thing that reduces costs is by having more affordable construction. And businesses will pass on those savings because if they don't, then buyers will buy from someone else. That's what competition means. You know, I asked the question, do you think that American builders are more generous? No, of course they're not. But the housing south of the border is 25 to 40% more affordable. And why is that? Well, because taxes are lower and permits are faster. And so when we have lower taxes and faster permits, we will have more homes, and those homes will be more affordable.
Next question.
Alex Ballingall with the Toronto Star. As I understand, you're talking about $4 billion in costs for this tax cut per year. Sorry. You talk about cutting the housing accelerator. As I understand it, you've already said you would cut that to fund the GST tax cut for new below-market rental builds. So how do you square those two things, and how would you pay for both of these tax cuts?
Yeah, the government put more money, amazingly, made the insane decision to put even more money into the accelerator fund. because after it had failed to build homes. We're going to cut that wasteful program that has actually blocked home building and put it into axing the sales tax on new homes. Axe the tax on new homes to bring down the price by $40,000 on an $800,000 home. That saves $2,200. We're also going to get rid of the bizarrely named Housing Infrastructure Fund, which hasn't built any housing and hasn't built any infrastructure. That's a $5 billion fund. That'll be gone. And of course, we're going to get billions of dollars in additional revenue from the fact that construction workers and businesses are making more money building more homes. Thank you.
Next question.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. Stephanie Levitz with the Globe and Mail.
Sorry, I'm just going to get out of the sun
Yeah,
here.
no problem. It's warmer there, though. You've accused the Prime
Oh,
Minister.
you guys are actually there. I can see you now. No, I don't have the sun in my eyes. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
just
you.
voices in the mist. Okay. You've accused the Prime Minister of lying about having information that members of your party are complicit or otherwise involved in foreign interference. I wondered if you could flesh that out a bit. How do you know he's lying? Have you done anything internally to examine this problem within your party or made any changes?
We told him to release the names, and we know he'd release the names if he had them. This is a Prime Minister who releases information on foreign interference whenever it suits his political purposes. He names names when it serves his purposes. And so we said, we've got nothing to hide, so name the names, Mr. Trudeau. If you've got nothing to hide, then come out, tell us who they are, so that all Canadians can hold them to account. But he hasn't done that, because I think the reality is that it's the Liberals who are compromised. We know that Trudeau was aware that in 2 subsequent elections, Beijing interfered to help him win. He had that information on his desk. He did nothing with it. He knew he had MPs in his caucus that were compromised. He didn't do anything about that until he was caught. So we can't trust anything Justin Trudeau says on foreign interference or anything else. And frankly, this is a man who has a track record of lying about basically everything. He lied when he said he didn't interfere and pressure Jody Wilson-Raybould on removing charges for SNC-Lavalin. He lied when he said the carbon tax would be capped at 11 cents a litre. Now we know it's going up to 61 cents a litre. He lied when he said his deficit would never go above $10 billion. He lies more than he tells the truth, and he's lying in this case as well.
Thank you. This will be the final question.
Morning, Rafi Boudjikani on CBC News. The Bloc Québécois has set a deadline of tomorrow for the Liberals to pass the pension top-ups. Is your party in conversation with the Bloc at all about next steps should that fail to happen? In English and French, please.
On n'a pas eu des conversations avec le Bloc, mais je me pose la question, qu'est-ce que le Bloc a obtenu? Le Bloc a voté 188 fois pour garder Justin Trudeau au pouvoir. Il a voté pour 500 milliards de dollars de dépenses centralisatrices, bureaucratiques et inflationnistes. Une grande faveur à Justin Trudeau. Et M. Blanchette, qu'est-ce que vous avez reçu pour tout ça? Pas d'augmentation dans la pension de vieillesse. Pas de loi sur la gestion de l'offre. Zéro. Le Bloc obtient rien pour les Québécois. Ça sert à quoi le Bloc? Donc, j'espère que le Bloc va finalement travailler pour les Québécois au lieu de travailler pour Justin Trudeau. Nous sommes le seul alternatif à Justin Trudeau. Et c'est les conservateurs qui vont offrir le message aux Québécois de voter pour rétablir la promesse du Canada, de pouvoir acheter une maison, de garder plus de votre chèque de paie, d'avoir la souveraineté sur votre portefeuille. C'est ça le message des conservateurs. Et je vais travailler avec n'importe qui pour déclencher une élection qui donne aux Québécois cette opportunité. We haven't, so far, the Bloc has received absolutely nothing from Justin Trudeau. Trudeau offered them nothing. And so the Bloc has voted 188 times to keep Trudeau in power. They voted for $500 billion of inflationary, bureaucratic, and centralist spending to take the money from Quebecers and send it to the bureaucracy in Ottawa. And what has Blanchette gotten for all of this money? And all of these votes? Zero. No increase in OAS, no supply management bill. Blanchette has delivered nothing for Quebecers. So it's time for the Bloc to work for Quebecers rather than working for Trudeau. Vote for a carbon tax election. We'll have a common sense conservative plan to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime.